I'm about to start that now. All right. Welcome, everybody. On behalf of Spark and the OE Castle
Yeah,
office, I want to welcome everyone here today. My name's Jody Sweeney, and I'm a business coach with Spark Learning Lab. I'm also here with my fellow coach, Tina Smith, and my Glenn Meave is also here, but she's just hanging out.
on it.
Just a reminder again, this webinar is being recorded and the link will be shared out to you at a later time. It is also going to be found on the Indiana Spark website under our pay by enrollment page. So we will have time at the end for questions. If you want to hold off on those or put them in the chat and we will get to them all. We want to make sure all of your questions are answered. And in some cases, we may have to follow up with you at a later date, but we will make sure that everybody gets their questions answered. All right, so who is required to keep backup attendance?
Hey, Jody, sorry, before you get started, there's still a few live mics. I don't know if the host is able to mute all of those or...
I sure can.
Okay, perfect, thanks.
Did we get them all?
Yeah, I think we're good.
All right, cool. Okay, so backup attendance. A provider will be paid full-time for all children enrolled until a child accumulates 40 absences in an enrollment year. If a child attends any part of the day, they should be marked present. There's no minimum number of hours or days they are required to attend. However, they must be there long enough to attend an activity or a meal in order to be counted as present. The importance of regular attendance should be stressed and encouraged with all of our families. Backup attendance is required to be kept by all providers, and this is going to be in addition to what is submitted in the portal for the payment voucher. So you can do this by your CCMS or another electronic tracking system or even paper attendance. But this is required for both licensing and auditing purposes, and the provider should expect to maintain these records for a minimum of 3 years. Okay, what should be included on your backup attendance? Programs can use their state-approved CCMS or another electronic tracking system, but it must be signed by the parent, not the program. So if a child checks in, the parents check them in and forget to check them out, you have to make sure that the parent is verifying both those in and out times. So on those backup attendance, the programs are going to include the child's first and last name, the date of attendance, the time in and time out, and the parent's signature of initials for each day showing they agree with those times in and times out. Backup attendance must match what is entered in the portal for payment. If it does not, programs may be required to repay funds received for attendance claimed. Why is backup attendance needed? This allows families to see what the provider is submitting for their attendance and absences. It also helps resolve any disputes between families and providers when disagreements arise about the number of absences claimed or the days attended. And lastly, this is the family's responsibility for receiving the benefit of the vouchers. Now that they're not swiping, they should still be responsible for making sure their child is checked in and checked out accurately. Again, this could be done through the CCMS or another electronic system or your paper attendance. When you're using a paper attendance, you have to make sure that the parents sign off on that document. That way we are still having them verify that, yes, these are the correct times. So provider attendance codes, PC is going to equal paid closure. So your providers get 16 paid closure days per calendar year, which can be used for provider vacations, sick days, inclement weather days, emergency closures, staff in-service, or holidays. All 16 paid closure days should be used before using non-paid closures. Providers will need to enter 5 paid closures if they're closed for an entire week. A non-paid closure, providers would use this for any day the program is closed beyond those 16 paid closure days. Non-paid days should only be used after a provider has used all of their 16 paid closure days for that calendar year. So when a provider selects a non-paid closure, the week will be prorated based on the number of non-paid days selected at a rate of 1/5 per day. If a program is closed for the day, this would be noted on your backup attendance as well. Again, making sure that all of these records are matching. Auditing. Providers are required to keep a backup attendance method, again, your CCMS, any electronic tracking system that you're using, or paper attendance for licensing and auditing purposes for 3 years. Your food program menus do not count. So be sure we are not using the food program as our way as documenting that backup attendance. None of food program documentation will count for this. Auditors for the state will monitor all attendance data submitted through the new provider portal and look for discrepancies. Those discrepancies are going to be things like children were not marked as absent, weeks with only off days marked, attendance in but not attendance out, that type of stuff. And then backup methods will then be requested and those will be compared. And if those do not match, or if you're not keeping that backup tracking method, you will have to have a repayment where you're going to have to repay funds that you were already paid out for those attendance records. All right. Fraud and intentional program violations, also referred to as an IPV. It is fraud to falsify attendance records or keep payments for children that were not attending. It is the provider's responsibility to make sure that attendance records are accurate and that they are returning any payments to the state that they should not have received. Programs can lose their ability to accept CCDF or On My Way Pre-K if they have an IPV. All right. So that's it for the presentation portion. It is very short, and the reason it is so short is so that we can answer any and all questions that you guys have. So please feel free to put them in the chat. You can come off mute however you're comfortable, or maybe raise your hand. We want to make sure we get all questions answered.
Yes, I have a question.
Yeah.
So with the backup attendance sheet, I'm from John Bonner, the John Bonner Center, and we host 3 after-school programmings. And so what I'm trying to figure out is kiddos are released from school straight into the program where we check them in, and then at pickup, if they are not if they have transportation, parents come and get them. If they don't, they go on our bus and we drop them off. So what happens in the in between if I have a kiddo that rides the bus home and parent does not have to sign them out, or and then in the case of kids coming in, we don't have a clock in time, but we have a clock out time. So are you kind of understanding?
Yeah, so in those cases, you can check them in. Obviously, if they're coming straight from the other program, we want times on there. So, we want the time that they all arrive on there so that audit can see that. And then if they are riding the bus home, we still want parents at least on a weekly basis to verify those attendance days. So you'll have to find some sort of method that the parents can see the attendance and the absences that have been marked and make sure that they agree with those.
Okay, so nothing verbally, they have to see.
Correct.
That we've actually. Okay, so maybe we can take a picture and send through email.
Yeah, are you using paper attendance?
Yes.
Yeah, so something like that would be okay, just to say, here's the attendance for the week. Do you have, or can you say that you agree with it or something like that would be fine.
Okay. And weekly.
Thanks, Shannon.
Okay.
It looks like we have a number of questions coming in the chat.
I see that.
Yes, I'll get started on those if that's all right. I'm going to come back to the first one from Alicia Angels Family Childcare. Forgive me if I butcher your first name. I'm going to go to Debbie's. Debbie, what Shannon just off answered would apply to you. If a children come to my preschool from a daycare and do not see the parent, does a digital signature on a Google form count as a parent verification?
Absolutely.
Yes, thank you. And then the first question. I have a question. If a child is absent, do we get paid for that? I heard yes and no.
So you do get paid up to those first 40 absences. So if a child is absent, you are getting paid for those absences. Once they reach 40 absences, their case will terminate. So even though you're getting paid, just making sure that you're consistently reminding that parent about the importance of attendance. And both parent and provider get notices after a child has missed 10, 20, 30, and 35 days. So there are 4 notices that go out before that termination.
Thank you. And Wayne wants to know, can we use Kid Care for attendance? It's through the food program, but it tracks in and out time.
Wayne, is the program the one doing that, or is that the parent that is putting in those times? And do they have a way to sign off on those?
They can, if they just updated the program, and I haven't read all the details yet, but they're supposed to be able to have the parents actually physically go in there and sign in and sign out the kids.
So if that's the case, then that can be your backup method. But if it's the program putting those check-ins and check-outs in, then there has to be parent verification.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm going to pause on the chat box real quick because Paradise has her hand raised and I don't want her to forget her question.
Thank you. So my question is, if you have families that you know they're going to be out certain days of the week, those wouldn't count towards their 40 days, would it? Like if they're consistently not here on Thursdays or consistently not here on Wednesdays because maybe they go to a grandparent or whoever, that doesn't count towards those absent days?
If they are the same days every week, then no, those would be marked as off days, not as absences. If the days vary and you're not sure and their schedules change and things like that, then those would be absences and count towards those 40 days. Okay. And you are also paid for off days. So you want to make sure that you're using those correctly. So we see a lot, child's out for the whole week, provider marks off days for the whole week. That's not how off days should be used. Off days are just those consistent days that they miss each week because they're not there 5 days a week.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I have a question from Barbara in the chat. Since time doesn't matter, why do we have to have time in and out as long as they're present for the day, and if the parents initial it on the paper, is it okay?
Audit is still looking at those times, even though the times don't matter. We have run into some instances where child's coming in for 5 minutes and then leaving, and they're doing that just so that that child is not marked absent for the day. We do not want to see that. So audit did ask us to start tracking those times as well. So they're either there for the day or for a significant portion of the day, a meal, an activity, things like that, like Jody mentioned, or they're not there. So it can't be a child that comes in, checks into the program, and then immediately goes home with the parent just to avoid an absence.
Thank you. And I'll have Tiffany go ahead and ask her question, please.
Hi, my question is, I have a child that does visits because he's like in foster care and he does visits, and he signed up to come on Fridays, but sometimes he doesn't come on Fridays because of the visit. So how do I leave it blank? Because someone told me I leave it blank instead of absent.
No, so you can't leave it blank. You have to mark something. So it either has to be present, absent, or off day. If he's typically not supposed to be there on a Friday, you can mark those as off days. And then if he does occasionally attend, you would just mark the attendance there.
So he is assigned to come on Fridays. So
then if he's not there, then that would be marked as an absence.
Absent. Okay. Thank you.
And a question in the chat. Jaden, we have a before and after school program where students are checked in by families but signed out by staff when they get on the bus. Is this okay? How can we have families sign on this?
Again, there has to be a way that, you know, parents either come in once a week and verify that attendance, you're sending it out to them via email, some way that the parents see that attendance and are able to verify that information.
Okay, and then in the chat, so if the child is not scheduled for the day at least one day a week, do we still mark that?
I'm not sure I understand that question.
Yeah. Could you give us more on that question? It was from Kids First. And I'll give you a minute. I'll go ahead and read the next one. And then you can come back with that. From Jaden, do families need to sign up to get the notice of their absences?
They do not. Those are automatically sent to every voucher family and provider that is associated with those vouchers.
And then from Janice, after we use the 16 paid close days, when we start to use the non-paid days, then weeks are prorated, correct?
That is correct. So you have 16 paid days. Any days that you are closed for that calendar year beyond 16 days would be deducted from that payment.
And then Kid First put, sorry, did I miss where a parent is to verify their child's schedule on hours for the day or week?
So we want them to verify at least once a week the daily schedule. So if it's a situation where they're not coming every day, that's okay. But we want at least once a week for them to come back in and verify that information. And I did see the follow up on the other question from Kids First. So yes, if a child is not scheduled to be there on a Wednesday, you never expect them on that Wednesday, then that would be an off day. But now if the child attends Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and then they're out on Wednesday and Thursday, Wednesday would still be their off day. Thursday is going to be an absence. So it's only the days that you do not expect them to attend regularly that would be marked as an off day. Everything else will be an absence.
Thank you. And Tricia asked, so if they go on vacation, they should be marked absent. And that is correct. If they go on vacation, it would be an absence.
Correct. Yeah, they get 40 days to be used however they choose to use them. So that can be emergencies, vacations, sick days. They just don't feel like showing up that day. Whatever it is, that's why they have 40. But if they whether they're scheduled or not scheduled, those are still going to be absences. So even if you know they're going on vacation, you're going to mark them absent.
Another question. Parents may also, is this a question or is it an answer? Oh, here it is. Where does a parent verify?
That depends on what method you're using. So if you have an electronic sign in, then the parents can verify there. If you have a paper sign in, then they would sign off on that sheet or verify via email or however it is that you're doing those verifications.
And the next one, my preschool is part of a public elementary school. If we have a 2-hour delay, usually weather, our morning pre-K class does not attend, but the afternoon class does. How should we mark those students who are not in attendance that morning?
If they're only there for a morning pre-K and that is not offered by your program, then you can mark those as an off day. You would not be able to mark it as a closure if the program is operating the rest of the day. If the entire program is closed, like for weather or something like that, then you would have to mark a paid or a non-paid closure.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and ask Tiffany to go ahead and state her question. She has her hand raised. Okay. You took your hand down. I'm going to guess I had your question answered. And I'll go on to the next chat question. I have a mom going on maternity leave and wants to put the vouchers on hold. Do I fill papers on her?
So she would need to notify the eligibility office that she is going on hold. Keep in mind that break needs to be at least 2 weeks or more. And if they do that, there is no payment to the provider. So there is no guarantee that you have to hold a spot for them during that time because you are not getting paid. So parents have the option of using vacation days so that the provider continues to get paid. If they don't want to use those, then the provider could still charge them out of pocket or could give that spot away. But we want to make sure that anytime that they are putting a voucher on hold, that they're creating a gap there, that providers understand they're not getting paid during that time. And those breaks need to be talked to the provider before they suggest those. So if they're going to call eligibility, we always say, have that conversation with your provider first. Make sure they understand that you're not going to have any vouchers and they will not be paid for that time.
It looks like Kids First has put another question below the one about the preschool question. So on the app Playground, they sign in and out, and we also have a paper schedule and a locked door tracking. So do we get this verification so how do we get this verification to you?
If they are the ones that are signing in and out on that system, then you do not need to have any other, that would be your backup method if it's the parents that are signing in and out.
And then the next question, I jumped on late. Did you say we have to have parents verify attendance before we submit it on the portal?
You do not have to have them verify before you're submitting on the portal, but you do have to have a backup method. All providers, regardless of what type of program it is, has to keep a backup method, and the parents have to verify that.
So Tiffany asks, if parents don't use their days, do those days roll over?
They do.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I was wondering if you meant absences or whatever. Do you mean? Go ahead.
Yeah,
Shannon.
those 40 days, those 40 absences days, they do not roll over. And those are by their anniversary date. So it does not necessarily line up with the dates of their vouchers. It's not by calendar year. Each child has an anniversary date that is listed in the parent and the provider portal. And that is when those days reset. So regardless of if they use them or not, they start back over at 0 on that anniversary date once the attendance is submitted for that period.
Next question. I just want to verify if families do get vacation days. And go ahead.
Yeah, those are all included in those 40 days. Yeah, so it doesn't matter if they use them for vacation or sick or they just want to have a day off with their kids or whatever their reason is. Those are those 40 absences. They don't get vacations separately.
Thank you, Shannon.
A lot of great questions coming in.
Yes.
Looks like we have about 5 minutes left. So if any other questions are out there, now's the time.
And you can definitely plug the Spark Help Desk again if you didn't get to your question or you think of something later. You want to flip to the last slide there.
There we go.
So the number is listed here, the 800-299-1627. Spark has a fantastic help desk that is standing by to ask any or answer any questions that you have if you weren't able to get it in today. I see a couple more people want to ask questions, and that is totally fine.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I had to come off mute because I couldn't seem to type fast enough. So I just want to have clarification that when you say backup attendance, now we do use a system called ProCare
Mhm.
where parents sign in and out and they initial, but are you really saying it also that we should have a backup to that system?
No, as long as the
No.
parents are the ones that are doing that, that's fine.
Right.
We're hearing
Okay.
from a lot of
Yes.
providers that just their teachers sign in and sign out
Oh,
for those
no.
parents. Parents
Okay.
never see that attendance. Then when we get in a situation where a parent says, well, I don't have 20 absences. I've never seen my attendance. I don't know when they're marking me absent. We have nothing to verify that information.
Okay.
So we just want to make sure that if you're using an electronic system, which is totally fine, it is the parents that are doing that sign in and sign out so that they have that insight into what's being submitted.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the next question, I think you sort of answered it. She might need a little more clarification. So I'll read it. I heard you say parents need to be the ones signing them in and out to count as backup documentation. So if a teacher checks them in and out, that wouldn't count.
That is correct. Unless at the end of that week, like we mentioned before, then the parents are going in and verifying that information if need be. So it has to be one of the others.
Right.
I do want to touch on, I see the how can we remove expired clients from our list. There is a roster cleanup form that you can use to do that. So anytime you have a child that leaves, if they were supposed to start, but they haven't started on time, they have a gap in care, you've been paid for someone you shouldn't have been paid for, any of those things can be reported on that roster cleanup form. Providers are supposed to report that within 5 days. And then we will make those adjustments as needed. So you should never have a child that is on your list that has left for more than a week. And if you do, make sure you're following up on that because you are paid by enrollment, you're paid for every child that is active on that list, and that results in improper payments. So we want to make sure that that list is cleaned up on a weekly basis.
And then we have another question. We're on Brightwell, and we also have a paper backup. Parents object to duplications. How do we get them to do both?
If the parents are the one checking in on your Brightwheel app, then they do not need to do a paper backup as well. So if they're using the QR code or whatever the sign-in method is that you're using for that, then that is your backup method.
Every child is signed in daily. However, they may not be signed in by a parent or guardian. Grandparents or other family or friends will sign in. Is this still sufficient for our backup sign-in method?
Yes, that is.
Uh-huh. And will these slides be available? Yes, they will be available. Just not tomorrow, of course. And then you can contact the help desk as to where you can find those when they're out where they should be. But I really don't have a date.
And I see Angie posted the roster cleanup form. So anybody who needs that, thank you for doing that, Angie. That is how you would report all of those changes. So please make sure that you have that.
And I see Jody also put the recording is available on our website, and she put a link. Thank you, Jody. I think we have a second part to one of the questions. However, did they ever say when we will get the payments for not charging sign-up fees?
So, Alicia, that should be later this year. Last year, we did a projected enrollment, so you were already paid in advance through September 30th of 2025 for those enrollment fees. We will not be doing a projected enrollment. We'll be doing actual enrollment this year, which means we can't make those payments until sometime after October 1st. So later this year, there will be communications and things that will be sent out around that. I'll also plug, if anyone is not receiving the Monday Must Know, that is where all of that information will be posted so that you know that things are coming up. So if you're not signed up for that, one of my friends can drop that link in the chat as well. Make sure you get signed up for that. That has all the upcoming OE CASEL information in it.
Yes, for sure. And then I'll answer this one. Do they need to verify each day, or just one signature is fine for all the days of the week? And you just need a signature for the week. Hopefully the whole week is shown on the piece of paper that you're having the parents sign, verifying that attendance, so they know what they're verifying. Next question. Are you saying that the paper backup is not necessary if the parents are checking in and out on Brightwell? And that is correct. You only need one form of backup. And if the parents are the ones signing in and out on that Brightwell, that is your backup attendance.
Those were really, really great questions, everybody. Thank you so much for attending today. We are 2 minutes over our time, so we appreciate that you guys were here and asked such great questions. So thank you for attending. Anything to follow up with, Shannon? I thought I saw you come off mute. Okay.
She threw something in the chat for everyone.
Oh, yes. Thank you. That's why I stopped my share, was to try it, because I'm like, I can't look for it when I'm sharing. Yes, perfect. Thank you so much, Shannon, for throwing that in the chat for us.
And I did see one more question from Tiffany. If you have a child that is showing active voucher, but you did the cleanup, give eligibility a few days to get that taken care of. But if you have not seen that by then please follow up with eligibility or your policy consultant to make sure that those do come off, so you don't get those improper payments and have to go through that recoupment. Okay, if it's been weeks, then definitely there is an issue. So please make sure that you reach out and let us know. I am going to drop an email in here real quick and reach out to us on this payment questions email, and we can check on that for you and make sure that the eligibility office received that form, and that we make sure that that gets cleaned up for you.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Again, if you have questions, please use the email that Shannon just put in the chat. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day.